They see destroyed buildings. Then as Scott is hiding behind a corner, holding Jean's hand, he can see Sentinels laying lifeless on the ground. It's clear. Come on, Jean, hurry, Scott says as they continue to race through the city. Suddenly Jean starts coughing and stumbles. "SHHH, you gotta be quiet. We can let them hear us," Scott says. "I am sorry. I am not feeling the best," Jean says. "Get down now," Scott says. Jean and Scott take cover behind a van as they see Sentinel patrol units fly above them, homing in within fog vision to see if there are any mutants or humans in the vicinity. Scott scans the area and looks around and motions to Jean again. "Let's go." As they continue to march, Scott trips and falls on the ground. "Scott, are you okay?" "I am fine. Something just got caught on my foot." As Scott is trying to get up, he uses what caused him to fall as leverage when he notices that it is a human body. Shaken up, Scott wipes the bloodstains off of his shirt and they continue to move. As they are running, Scott and Jean can see more human corpses lying face down on the ground. He recognizes one of them. Italy is an African-American woman, in her 40s with straight white hair. He turns her over, revealing an X-Men patch on her shirt. "My God, it's Storm," Scott says. "Oh my God. Oh my God," Jean says, and begins crying. "Storm, wake up. Storm, answer me. This is Scott." "Oh." Scott continues to shake Storm over and over, but it is too late. She is dead. How could they just leave her like this? The people she was with. How could they just leave her? Scott is enraged over Storm's death. There were so many Sentinels around. She must have gotten sidetracked and ended up away from the rest. Jean says, "I don't care. I'd never leave you, Jean, ever. First Hank and now Aurora. Who else has to die for nothing? Where is hope? Where is hope?" Scott suddenly begins to cry as he holds Storm in his arms. Hope is something that can never be tainted, no matter what happens, no matter what the obstacle is. Hope is something that is everlasting. Hope is something that will triumph. Jean mumbles these words to Scott. "I love you with all my heart," says Scott. "I love you too." Jean and Scott hug, but suddenly they hear Sentinels in their area, and get up and continue moving. Scott looks back at Storm, knowing it will likely be the last time he will ever see her. As Scott and Jean run, they can hear a crack in a building next to them. Suddenly a Sentinel bursts out. As they back up, they suddenly see another Sentinel bust through another building. Scott moves his right hand and pushes Jean behind him, as a third Sentinel comes down from the sky. Breathing heavily and with adrenaline rushing, Scott realizes this is a life-and-death situation. Scott unleashes the optical blast that rips a Sentinel's leg off. Scott then turns to Jean and says, "Jean, get out of here now." But before he can finish his last sentence, a Sentinel fires a high-velocity beam that sends Scott hurling into nearby trash cans. Dumps. Scott is badly hurt. "Oh no, Scott," says Jean, but suddenly a Sentinel takes aim at her and sends a deadly blast in her direction, when suddenly an invisible force causes the blast to disappear. Jean then uses her power to move the car and race it towards a Sentinel's leg. The Sentinel hobbles, but it is unshaken. The Sentinel then sends another blast in Jean's direction. The blast is effective. It sends Jean flying into newspaper stands. No, Jean. Scott, still stunned, manages to get to his knees and let out an optical blast that rips the building by the Sentinel down. As Scott takes down one Sentinel, another has its aim on Jean, looking to kill her. As the Sentinel is looking to kill Jean, its circuitry suddenly begins to open up, and it is suddenly dismembered. Rare. Logan takes down the Sentinel just in time before Jean is killed. But Logan looks worn down. His shirt has been completely burned off. His hair has been partially burned. And he is bleeding, possibly dying. "Jean, are you all right? Jean?" Jean opens her eyes and looks at Logan. "Logan, you have to help Scott." Logan turns around and sees 3 Sentinels march towards Scott. "Stay here, I'll be back." Logan gets up, still worn down from his struggle with multiple Sentinels. when 4 more sentinels suddenly come down from the sky. I got something for these 10 cans. Logan, be careful, Jean says as she collapses. You want to hunt us? How about taking some of your own medicine? Rob. Logan leaps like a mountain lion, but before he can take action, he is shot by one of the sentinels. Rocky falls but gets right back up. Surrender, mutant. The sentinel lets out a high beam that Logan jumps above. He soon cuts the sentinel's hand right off. Unit damaged. The sentinel uses his second hand to punch Logan directly into the wall. Rah! Logan is down once more. The sentinels move at an extremely fast pace. Logan is slow to get up, but he is up. He shakes his head and comes back at the sentinels. As 4 sentinels are approaching Logan, he soon runs into an empty department store and hides behind a dresser. Still hurt from the continuous battles with the sentinels, Logan takes a breather. But not for long. The sentinels dismantle the building in search of Logan. As Logan sees the sentinels searching for him, he soon runs up a non-functional escalator and hides behind yet another dresser. This mutant can't get away. He is certainly met his demise. Mutant, this is Unit 512. You are completely surrounded. Surrender, and your suffering may be minimal. Fight, and you will die a slow death. This is your final warning. Reveal yourself. As Logan looks on, he sees 2 sentinels completely enter the building, and he realizes this is his chance. Logan makes a run for it. As he is running, a sentinel spots him. Mutant spotted, attacked with deadly force. Logan manages to escape one blast and then another. Before the sentinel can't take deadly aim on Logan, he makes a death-defying leap through the second-story window and uses his claws to scrape the building as he is sliding down. The force from his claws causes the building to be completely dismembered. The 2 sentinels in the building never had a chance. Unit damaged. As Logan runs out, another sentinel takes aim at him and lets out a beam that hits its mark. Logan is down once more. As Scott is bleeding helplessly and still hurt, he watches as 2 sentinels converge on Logan. Both sentinels let out a high beam that burns Logan. R-A-H-H-A-H-A, no, Logan. We can hear Logan moan, but suddenly a sentinel falls. This is one tough mutant. Suddenly another sentinel comes from the sky and shoots Logan into a nearby building, when 2 more sentinels make their way into the building. We can hear multiple blasts and we can hear Logan screaming. It may be all over for Logan. Scott shoots a blast at a nearby sentinel that rips through the sentinel circuitry, but before Scott can let out another blast, another sentinel aims a ray in his direction. Scott, helplessly running, takes a barrage of sentinel blasts, all which miss their mark. Scott hops behind a tree, which explodes right in front of him. The force from the explosion causes him to bleed. Scott stumbles, but manages to get to his feet and hides behind a car when it too is exploded by another sentinel blast. Scott, still racing, has run out of places to hide. The sentinel then lets out a beam that stops Scott in his tracks. Dumps. Scott immediately falls. Blood dripping from his mouth, Scott desperately gets up again and tries to run, when he narrowly escapes a blow from a sentinel's fist that causes the building next to him to tumble. As Scott tries to run further, he stumbles once more. He is so stunned, he can barely walk. Scott desperately tries to backpedal on his hands and knees, but to no avail. The sentinel sends another blast at Scott's direction, which causes him to fly through an empty alleyway. Scott tries to stand up, but can only scrape the ground. As the sentinels prepare to kill Scott, he manages to open one eye and direct his visor at a building that is inches away from the sentinel. He uses more and more force, and finally the building cracks as the sentinel prepares a final blast, likely to kill Scott. The building falls on the sentinel. This unit has been critically damaged. Assistance needed. Another sentinel continues to walk towards Scott. This mutant is terminated. The sentinel prepares for a beam that will likely kill Scott. Scott manages to open his second eye and prepares for an optical blast. Mutant, surrender. Live today, die tomorrow. It makes no difference. Sooner or later you will make a mistake and you will die. The woman mutant is likely terminated. The male mutant